Imagine having everything you ever wanted, yet feeling a gnawing emptiness inside. You stand at the pinnacle of success, surrounded by achievements, but something essential is missing. In the silent hours of the night, you start to wonder, is this all there is? You have wealth, recognition, and a brilliant career. So why do you feel so hollow? Picture this. It is past midnight at a quiet mountain lake. You wake from troubled sleep, thirsty, and pad softly to the kitchen for a glass of water. The world is still and cold outside. As you slip back into bed, you stare into the darkness, mind wandering, not expecting anything out of the ordinary. Suddenly, an overwhelming energy erupts from your chest. An intense warmth and light surge outward, unbidden. It feels like pure love, far beyond any love you have ever known, bursting from inside you. In an instant, you are bathed in a brilliant white radiance, as if your very being has ignited. Your awareness explodes outward with the light. Suddenly, you are not confined to your body. You feel intimately connected with everything around you, the silent room, the distant stars, the entire universe. You are somehow both the observer and everything observed, all at once. And yet, you are still you, a single point of awareness immersed in an ocean of unity. It sounds unbelievable, almost crazy. But this exact experience happened to a man named Federico Faggin on a winter night in Lake Tahoe in 1990. One moment, he was a restless skeptic in the dark. The next, he was feeling the universe alive within him. That night shattered everything he thought he knew about reality. Federico Faggin was not a mystic or a monk. He was a brilliant physicist and inventor. Decades earlier, he helped create the world's first microprocessor, the tiny chip that launched the computer age. He had always approached life through logic and engineering rigor. Like many scientists, he assumed consciousness was just an emergent trick of biology, something the brain somehow produced from electrical signals. Yet here he was, heart pounding from an impossible revelation. In that blast of love and light, he felt he had touched something primal, the very source of everything. It was as if he glimpsed a reality prior to matter, a realm of pure consciousness underlying the physical world. The experience left him shaken and convinced that mind might not be just a byproduct of matter, after all. In the days and years that followed, Faggin could not forget what happened. This awakening ignited a quiet revolution in his life. By day, he continued his work in technology, but his heart was now set on unraveling the mystery of consciousness. He turned inward, meditated, studied ancient wisdom and cutting-edge physics alike, determined to understand the true nature of mind and reality. After years of reflection, Faggin began to articulate a revolutionary idea. He came to believe that consciousness is not produced by the brain at all. Instead, it might be an irreducible aspect of reality, as fundamental as space, time, or energy. In other words, mind is woven into the basic fabric of existence, not an accidental byproduct of matter. This new perspective, which Faggin calls quantum information panpsychism, may sound like a mouthful, but its essence is simple. Consciousness and information are woven together in the quantum fabric of reality. The tiniest units, quantum fields and particles, carry not just physical properties, but a primitive awareness. In essence, even an electron has a glimmer of mind, and all these glimmers together form a tapestry of universal consciousness. Panpsychism is the age-old idea that mind might be present in all things. Traditionally, people dismiss it as mystical thinking. After all, how can a rock or an atom be aware? And if everything has a mind, how do all those tiny consciousnesses combine to create the coherent awareness we humans have? Faggin's quantum version offers a twist. In the quantum world, Parts can unite into wholes in ways that classical bits of matter cannot. Tiny elements of awareness can merge and amplify, rather than merely sum up, potentially forming bigger minds without losing their individual essence. To ground his vision, Faggin drew on cutting-edge physics. One physicist showed that all the equations of quantum mechanics can be derived purely from information, echoing John Wheeler's idea that at the root of reality, it from bit. Inspired by this, Faggin proposed that consciousness is the intrinsic, subjective side of this cosmic information. Piece by piece, he crafted a new story of existence. In Faggin's view, consciousness isn't something that magically emerges when neurons fire in complex brains. Instead, consciousness is a fundamental quality present even at the lowest rungs of reality. Our human awareness, rich as it is built up from these foundational conscious elements. Matter, in turn, arises from these conscious fields organizing themselves, a process of mind expressing itself as the material world. This bold theory does more than turn science on its head. It also offers a new explanation for the weirdness of quantum physics. Take the famous puzzle of the quantum wave function collapse. In standard physics, a particle can exist in a blurry cloud of multiple possibilities, and only when measured does it choose a definite state. Faggin suggests that this choice is not random at all, but an act of free will by the underlying field of consciousness. In other words, when a quantum event picks an outcome, it is the invisible mind of the universe making a tiny decision. According to Faggin, free will is woven into the fabric of physics, not something that magically appears in humans alone. Even an electron has a tiny freedom to choose, a spark of spontaneity. Your own free will is not a mere quirk of biology, but a reflection of a deeper principle, the universe knowing itself through countless small choices. Where, then, are your thoughts and feelings, if not inside your brain? Faggin would say they exist in your personal field of consciousness. Your experiences, the redness of a rose, the pain of a cut, the warmth of a loving embrace, are real phenomena in this field. Your brain's neurons and signals are just the interface, translating those private experiences into public actions and words. In other words, the qualia of your life live in the field that is you, not in the meat of your brain tissue. Think of your body as an instrument and your consciousness as the player. When your body's senses pick up information, it sends signals, like a drone sending camera feeds back to its remote pilot. Then, from your will, you send commands back to the body to act. In this metaphor, your body is like a high-tech avatar, and the real you is the invisible quantum mind at the controls. This new view turns the old picture upside down. You do not live inside your head. Rather, your mind exists as a rich field of awareness, and the brain is just an interface. Even space and time emerge within consciousness, not the other way around. It is a complete inversion of materialism, a paradigm shift that science has yet to embrace. By now you might wonder, what about the machines we build? Could an artificial intelligence ever achieve this kind of consciousness? Today, many futurists predict that advanced AIs will soon think and feel as we do. But Faggin argues that they cannot, not with the current approach. Our computers and algorithms operate on classical bits and deterministic rules, lacking the secret ingredient of inner experience. He highlights a fundamental difference between biological systems and digital machines. Consider a single living cell in your body. It is immensely complex and even somewhat self-aware of its role. Each cell contains the entire genetic blueprint of you, and it can respond to signals from all over the body. Life is deeply interconnected at every scale. Now consider a tiny transistor in a microprocessor. It has two states, on or off, and it has no idea what the rest of the computer is doing. It merely flips when instructed. The cell lives in a web of organic meaning. The transistor lives in isolation, blind to the whole. A human brain isn't just a collection of isolated switches. It's a symphony of cells constantly communicating and adapting together, likely linked by underlying quantum processes. This gives living systems an intrinsic sense of self and purpose. By contrast, even the most advanced silicon chip is a glorified abacus. It shuffles symbols blindly. A machine's so-called intelligence comes entirely from our programming, not from any inner insight. The conclusion is that no matter how sophisticated our AI programs become, they are missing the secret source of consciousness. An AI can mimic human speech, recognize images, or even write music, but it does so without any inner awareness. It has no qualia, no feeling of red when it processes a photo of a rose, no twinge of emotion when it outputs the word love. It is all formula and no spark. Without that inner light, a machine's intelligence is like a perfectly scripted play with no audience inside to experience it. A machine might beat us at chess or crunch numbers faster, but it cannot surpass the creative insight of a mind that feels, dreams, and understands. It has no inner compass, no true comprehension of what it does. We remain the only storytellers in this equation, the only ones who know the meaning of the story. He warns that if we continue to see ourselves as mere machines, we may end up in a world where machines and their masters rule over us. We could gradually surrender our autonomy, trusting cold algorithms over our own insight. It would be a self-fulfilling prophecy, humanity imprisoned by its own lifeless creations. To avoid that fate, we must recognize that we are not machines. Ultimately, we must reclaim our understanding of who we are. We are conscious beings, not our gadgets. The body may be a marvelous biological machine, but it is guided by something deeper, the conscious field that is our true self. Recognizing this is both a scientific and a spiritual shift. It reminds us that human beings have an inherent dignity no machine can replicate. We are ends in ourselves, not means to some algorithmic goal. For decades, scientific dogma has claimed that meaning and purpose are illusions, that the universe is ultimately random and impersonal. But this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Start with a meaningless assumption, and you end up with a meaningless conclusion. Faggin turns that perspective upside down. He begins with the reality of consciousness itself, the undeniable fact of our experience, and finds a cosmos brimming with significance. In this view, the universe isn't a cold accident. It is a living story, and each of us is playing a part in its self-discovery. And what about death? If Faggin is right, death may not be the end of consciousness at all. Think of the body as a drone. If the drone is destroyed, the pilot, the mind, still remains. Likewise, when the body falls silent, our field of consciousness may simply detach and carry on. Such near-death experiences, floating above one's body, entering a realm of light, suddenly make more sense. Perhaps those people truly stepped beyond the body for a moment before returning. From this perspective, life is not a brief spark in a dark void, but part of an ongoing, perhaps endless, exploration by consciousness. Each of us, as a conscious field, could be an immortal learner moving through one chapter of experience after another. These ideas, once merely mystical, gain some credibility in Faggin's framework. They challenge us to rethink our fear of death, and to consider that our story might continue beyond the physical realm. What Faggin proposes is nothing less than a new narrative of reality. In this story, everything is alive with consciousness. The cosmos is not a soulless machine, but a vast mind unfolding. Your own inner life is a microcosm of the whole, a unique perspective through which the universe knows itself. As Faggin realized in his awakening, you are both the observer and part of the observed, a drop of water that contains the entire ocean. It is understandable if all this leaves you both awed and skeptical. The idea is strange, and it contradicts what we learned in school. Most scientists still see consciousness as just a byproduct of brain chemistry, not a fundamental feature of the cosmos. Yet great shifts in understanding often begin with someone brave enough to ask, what if our basic assumptions are wrong? Federico Faggin's own path illustrates the power of questioning the prevailing story. He went from engineering the material building blocks of our digital world to exploring the immaterial depths of awareness. His life is a reminder that no amount of technological success can answer the deepest human questions. For that, we must be willing to turn inward and rethink our worldview. Perhaps the most profound message here is to trust the reality of our inner experience. The awe you feel at a sunset, the swell of love in your heart. These are not just meaningless blips of brain chemistry. They may be glimpses of fundamental consciousness shining through cracks in the physical world. Your subjective life might be revealing something true about the nature of existence. What if the universe itself is alive and aware, and each of our minds is a thread in its grand tapestry? The idea is both humbling and uplifting. It means you are never truly alone. Your mind is part of one universal mind that underlies all things. You are a unique expression of the cosmos, a drop of water that contains the entire ocean of consciousness within it. In many ways, this perspective bridges science and spirituality. It echoes the ancient idea that all is one, but grounds it in modern physics. The mystical feeling of oneness might have a literal basis in the quantum nature of reality. Science and spirituality, far from being enemies, could be two languages telling the same story. Seeing consciousness as fundamental even casts everyday life in a new light. Creative ideas, acts of kindness, moments of insight. These are not just personal quirks. They are the universe expressing and exploring itself through you. Every choice you make, every experience you have, contributes to the whole. In this view, living a conscious, compassionate life is not only morally good, it is cosmically significant. Imagine a society that truly embraced this understanding. We would likely treat each other with far greater reverence, knowing that a spark of awareness dwells in all. The drive to dominate and exploit might soften, replaced by a desire to cooperate and learn. Progress would be measured not only in technological advances, but in deepening wisdom and empathy as well. Of course, this theory is still a hypothesis, a vision that must be tested and explored. Healthy skepticism is important, but so is an open mind. Faggin isn't asking us to abandon science. He is urging science to expand its horizons. He points to the evidence of our own experience and the oddities of quantum physics, suggesting that consciousness might be the missing piece of the puzzle. Ultimately, this view reminds us that reality is more mysterious than we often assume. We have so much yet to discover, and perhaps some answers lie within our own minds. Federico Faggin's boldness shows that even in our high-tech world, the greatest frontier lies within consciousness itself. True insight requires not just data and logic, but also introspection and openness to experience. By blending advanced physics with age-old wisdom, Faggin has lit a beacon on the ocean of the unknown, inviting us all to explore further. So, what do you think? Could consciousness truly be the bedrock of reality? Could your own awareness be a fundamental aspect of the universe, rather than a fluke of biology? These questions may not be answered overnight, but simply asking them can expand your perspective. It opens the door to wonder, and wonder is where all great discoveries begin. If this journey resonated with you, consider sharing it and joining our explorations of mind and reality. The quest to understand consciousness is unfolding, and each of us has a part to play.